So there's a principle in our tradition that when you teach something from someone you learned it from, you say their name. We say it's to teach b'shem omro, in the name of the one who taught it to you. So I'm going to say a bunch of names tonight because I learned a lot this week from people I know and care about, from teachers and friends. You might know their names, you might not know their names, but you should know. That's why. Sacred obligation that when we teach in the name of the ones we learned, we bring about a world of wholeness and peace. So, start that this week. There's a rabbi who's in I think he's in Calabasas, California. I don't know where anything in California is. I'm pretty sure that Calabasas is the place. His name is Rabbi Paul Kipnis, and he sometimes likes to post on Facebook the thing he's thinking about for his sermon. He asks a question and people respond, and he asked the question this week about the clothing that the priest wears. Because in our Torah portion this week, Tzav, it talks about the ordination ceremony for the priests, the clothing that Moses puts upon Aaron and his children, and the moment of sanctifying them. I read through the thread about what it means to wear that sacred clothing. And as I read, I remembered a sermon that Leah gave some number of weeks ago that was more than 1 and less than 10 for Parshat Tetzaveh. And she taught us that when the clothing is described, it's described lechavod uletifaret. That the sacred attire of the priests, the ones who will be the sacred intermediaries for the Israelites as they wander the desert, as they finally make it to the land and the temple in the place that God will choose, that their clothing is lechavod uletifaret, for honor and for beauty. And Leah offered to us to wonder, what does it mean to robe ourselves in honor and in beauty? And this week especially, I've been feeling really desperate to feel cloaked in honor and beauty, because this week felt extra hard. It's been a hard almost 6 months, but this week, it felt like extra vitriol from leaders and headlines and memes and harsh language and accusations that don't sit comfortably, that make me feel like instead of cloaking in honor and beauty, I'm adding layers of heaviness and of worry, of despair. To see the image from the AP News that was selected as the photograph of the year, that was I'm going to speak in euphemistic language because of some of who's present in the room, but I hope a body that should not have been photographed and should not have been celebrated, a moment of terror and violence, and to see that honored. And I put on a sash of sorrow, of deep despair about the nature of what it means to be human at this moment, about what the world around us is looking at and doing and seeing. And I yearned desperately to put on that cloak of honor and of beauty. And I learned from Yossi Klein Halevi, who is a brilliant teacher from the Shalom Hartman Institute. Usually lives in Israel, but is doing a 3-month tour in the States. And he asked us questions about what it is like to be a victim or to be vulnerable, about what it's like to have power and the moral obligations and limits of power, of what it's like to see division and discord amongst the people in Israel and the people in America, and the tensions between Israel and diaspora Judaism. And the clothing it's heavy. These have been really difficult months. It can be hard to find the pathway and find the way, to constantly feel like extra layers are added on that that weigh me down. They make it hard to see the ordination of the priests that we described this week, to see the sanctity, the beauty of who we are and who we're called to be, to feel the kavod. The kavod, honor, it also carries a connotation. Well, it also means heavy, but not heavy like burden heavy, like heavy like weighty, like it matters. When the priests put on their clothes, they stand up straighter. They remember that they have sacred purpose and obligation, that they matter, and that their job is to bring something beautiful into the world. The breastplate of decision that they wear, they say is zichron, is for memory. Because we know wherever we go, we're constantly carrying memory. Memory of the journeys that we've taken as individuals and as families, as a Jewish family and a people. And we carry that with us. It's a layer. But who we are is beauty and is honor, because that sermon from between 1 and 10 weeks ago, Titzaveh, is a future wondering. Someday, Titzaveh, you shall be commanded to put on these vestments, the robe and the tunic and the sash and the headdress and the shoulder pieces and the breastplate, and you'll have sacred obligation. And this week, tzav, it's the same root. It's the same word. Someday you shall, and now it's time. Now it's time to be commanded to put that stuff on, to have the sacred oil sprinkled on you, to remember that despite the wanderings and the sorrow and the cruelty and the violence and the hardship that we've endured, that there's something sacred obligation that we hold and that we carry, that's who we're supposed to be, because we know that we are a mamlechet kohanim. We're a kingdom of priests. It's not just a couple of guys related to Aaron those thousands of years ago. It's all of us. All of us are to be robed in that weighty responsibility and that obligation to bring goodness and joy and beauty into the world. And at times, it's felt hard, if not impossible, to do that these 6 months. And then earlier today, I was doing what rabbis do at around 2 or 3 o'clock on a Friday. I was talking to another rabbi in another city who was also working on their sermon for Friday night. I was talking with Rabbi Stephanie Crawley, who's a rabbi at Temple Micah in D.C. And she reminded me of this beautiful line that we sing. We sing on Havdalah. When we move from Shabbat into the week, move from the sacred moment to the normal stuff that we have to do each and every day. La Yehudim hayta ora. For the Jewish people, there shall be this sacred, brilliant, bright light. We know, Titzaveh, we know that someday that will be our job. La Yehudim hayta ora. Kain tiya lanu. May it be so for us. May it be so that we can access that sacred light, that we can shed off the robes and the sashes and the tunics of worry and of despair and of anger that sits uncomfortably, and of vengeance and of sorrow and of worry, that we can instead wrap ourselves as we're intended to be, to hold the chains of memory, but to wrap and stand up to be sanctified, to be ordained for sacred responsibility with honor and with dignity, with beauty and with light. I know for so many of us, these months have been beyond trying. They've strained relationships with friends and with family, with those we saw as allies, and wondered about who we are and who we want to be and how we do our sacred work in the world when we can feel so desperately alone. We'll press number 6 on it. Everything's fine. It does that sometimes. Don't worry. I think it was just telling me to wrap it up, Rabbi.
The umbrella.
You can feel alone. But we are Mamlechet Kohanim. We're a nation of people called to sacred responsibility. We can't forget that part. We have to remember that what it means to be a Jew is to stand up confident and tall, knowing that our responsibility is honor and beauty and light and memory, and to build a world worthy of this incredible tradition that we inherit. And that to walk around exclusively in the heaviness and the sorrow, it doesn't do justice to our sacred calling. We have to see it. We have to see those hard moments. We have to speak out when it's time. We have to remember who we are. Not allow the difficult moments to reshape and recolor the way that we look at the world. We're the people who stood at the base of Mount Sinai. All of us stood there together to receive a mission and a purpose. La Yehudim haita ora, for the Jewish people there shall be light, so too shall it be for us, so that we can be a light to the world, to bring or lid goyim, to bring light to the nations, to be role model people, role model communities, role model nations of the vision of wholeness and peace that is so core to who we are and what we pray about when we come in here, so we can build it out there. They've been hard months. We have to see it and name it and say it, and then we have to wake up in the morning and dress ourselves again to stand up tall and confident, knowing that there is beauty and honor and light for us to share in the world. With the desperate yearning and hope that this is a place where we can refill that tank to see ourselves as having and worthy of that light. La Yehudim haita ora, for the Jewish people there shall be light, kain tielanu. So too may it be true for us.